Welcome back to Unseen Sports TV and Elevator Sports Academy. In studio, we have Kavi Meeks alongside Javon Parchment. Yes, people. And we are going to talk about an interesting topic, people. A very interesting one. And people, this is something that a lot of people want to talk about a long time ago. And it's should failing grades bench student athletes, which in terms means that not giving them an opportunity, even if they are predominantly sports orientated but tries with their academy. And also, we want to talk about Asafa Powell and his utterance that his son won't run for Jamaica unless things change. And he also went on to say that he made a bad choice. Basically, that's what he's saying. So we're going to look at that, people. But before we go into that, do the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, and share to the content. And make sure that you you subscribe to both platforms, people. All right, Mr. Meeks, what are you doing, sir?
Not bad. Good day, everyone. Good day, everyone. Big up Unseen, El Futura. Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. So we're there, people. All right. So happy Friday. This is what Good Friday. Good Friday. Not seeing a lot of people, out on the road and stuff. So that means everybody lucky in, spend time with their family. No, but it's time now for YouTube. Okay, and talk, enjoy ourselves, reason about the topic. So, Mr. Meeks, you have persons. No, sir, it's not plug in. So I'm not hear it. Oh God. It's waiting this unplug, Yes. All right. Sorry about that, people. So earlier today, there was, I think the person, microphone off. Microphone off. It's good. Blessings, Issa. Blessings, Issa. I got drop the link in the comment section. Issa, make the man them know so we're live now. I drop the link in the comment section. Yeah, make them know so we're live. I would have talk about the same topic. All right. So the link in the comment section, Issa. The link in the comment section and thing. Yeah. But Mr. Mix, so you have people who believe that schools not supposed to cater for um persons who I can't say cannot, but they are willing to, but they are not going to get that 50, 60, 70, 80% average. And they are predominantly sports orientated. Right? Per people in the school system as well, and people outside of the school system believe that those persons should be sent somewhere to further themselves in life. For example, if a football, you want to go play a school, if you go play for a club or whatever. You understand what I mean? But if you can tell us what is the purpose of school, what is the purpose of school? Could you tell listeners the purpose of school? Is it only academia?
Good day, everyone. Well, the purpose of school should not be just academia. The purpose of school is holistic development, in my opinion. And holistic development comes in the form of academics, sports, even cultural experiences, etc. But the thing is, this is a tricky topic, Unseen. We need to establish what would be failing grades and what we deem as being inappropriate in terms of academic standards before we can really go into the topic and dissect and decide upon what is a fair standard for athletic students to partake in their sporting activities.
You know what I'm saying? So Mr. Mix and Unseen big up is tier 2 game stream live. Them say we try stream there.
We now play tomorrow.
Tell them so let's try streaming my next match. Waiting.
We can try.
So Mr. Meek said tune in for the Elvitora for Wednesday. You know,
Tomorrow we'll try to get a match.
and tomorrow we'll try, try to get a match as well for the people. So, yeah, so you can tune in for non-team sports and our Elvitora. They get the match.
So
Uh,
what is feeling great?
all right, so Eagle Republic says in student athlete, students comes first.
What is feeling great?
Feeling great.
Yeah.
Feeling great. I mean, maybe you can say after getting like 40% below 50%.
You know why first of all, let me establish that I have to oppose the criteria of grades
Mm-hmm.
and student participation solely because of the fact that a lot of these kids, if you check the high school records or the primary school records, a lot of these kids can't read.
Right.
And they come into the high school system. Sports or any other extra activity should be used as a way of molding these kids to improve their academic performance. What I do believe though is that if you have high performing students, then you should not belittle the standard for them because they are performing at a high level already. So you should maintain a standard for them. So in essence, I believe that there should be different academic qualifications for students to participate. I may be wrong, but that is just what I think. Because if you're in a high school and you get say two students,
Mm.
one is averaging 80 and above, and the other is averaging 30 and below. After a diagnostic test has been done, one is at grade 7 for argument's sake and is reading below grade 1. Can you really say to yourself that you're going to have an academic qualification for that child going into grade 8? That child automatically feels from day one
And
because
say that child is
because
good at sports now.
but that child is good at
Should we
sports.
stop him from playing?
No, what we need to do is to find a way to balance the sports, improve the academics, and
Using
get
the
that.
sports.
Yeah, using the sports to get that child up.
People think that they must kick them out. They're not supposed to play the ball. Them for just find somewhere else go and then just come. You understand what I mean?
But the purpose of school, in my opinion, is not just academics. Should not be just academics.
Mm.
So you're telling me that a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old coming to us high school can't read, can't perform at the level that he or she should be at, and that child should be discarded, or the school should create an environment where you improve the child, not just academically and not just sporting wise, but holistically. I think that would be an achievement. But when you disbar the child, what is it
Yeah.
going to be?
What is the what? All right. So when a this bar child makes a mix because of that, and that child end up going on the road or picking up some bad things. What do you think will happen to the society when you push out a child because of that reason from doing what he loves?
Um, Generally, you see a lot of these kids who are a typical example of what you described. But I strongly believe that you should take the child in, get a realistic standard for that child, and then you should hold that child accountable to that standard.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a general standard, you're going to find that persons in who comes into the high school with a better academical um, exposure and development will always meet that easy mark, and persons below will always be struggling to meet that mark. So we as educators should sit and analyze the whole situation and come up with solutions to better empower our youngsters to be able to become productive persons at the end of their tenure in high schools.
Question: have you ever, which is what I said, the child can join a club? The child starts, so the child can join a club.
The child joining a club, what does the club will do? The club will just focus on one aspect of life, sports,
So
essentially.
the question is though, why is it that he is focusing on just track and field or football only? Why is he not focused on using the sports to get him to understand that, hey, both work hand in hand? Why is it that Richard Stewart just thinking about football, 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 but don't understand that that child may have a little bit of, what you call it now, some issues in terms of learning, but football makes him learn and will grasp it. Because that is possible in society right now, you know, that matter of fact, that is happening right now, based on a lot of these persons, them born with difficulty to learn. And no care how you try to teach them the general way, them now they have to try to change your pattern of teaching. I mean, know a lot of players, a lot of
But
persons who do sports.
in the same breath that you highlight that a lot
Mm,
of students are lazy to try to improve academically.
true.
So when you find a child who having difficulty learning because of um, the whole cognitive development compared to a child who is not achieving because of the attitude towards improving him or herself. Those are two different scenarios. But what we're doing currently now is we just holistically paint one
Picture.
paintbrush
One
for
picture.
everyone.
One
And that
paintbrush or a picture.
one paint, we just paint one paintbrush for everybody. We draw the paintbrush and we say, this is it.
Mm.
But yet still we have students with different
Logical.
psychological problems,
Mhm.
which needs a different approach to improve the different kids within the different areas. So in regards to my personal opinion, I think that grades, there must be a criteria.
Correct.
However, a criteria cannot be a one paintbrush standard. You
Correct.
must have, as educators, we learn about psychology, we learn about all of the development of a child, how to improve. We must have standards where we take a child at zero and we bring them to one. We can't take a child at zero and expect the child to be at six. And then if the child don't make it at the six, then we discard the child and say that you're a failure. No,
Do you have any
you can't do that.
example of any
I will
student
not
athletes?
go into that.
No, hold on. No,
I will
no,
not
there's
go
no
into that.
example.
I would not go down to that.
I don't want you to call anybody name, you know. Just would love you to share and share a story with that child who, you know, in terms of learning, he used the football to get him to understand life, or now he's a better person in terms of education.
I have a number of kids from state, number of kids who weren't at the academical standard, but because of sports and the passion,
Hmm.
I did not discard them,
Yes.
and they continue to work hard, not just sport wise, but academically. I was fortunate.
Were they lazy?
I was fortunate. Some of them were. I was fortunate to be able to have persons within the institution who were willing to do the little extra work with them.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, we get students passing CXC who could not read when they just come into school. But if
That
I,
rough, you know.
but if I discard them as the the society
And
wants to
yeah,
become,
like Richard's doing. Making you play club
you
football.
don't know. And I know many of these kids are overseas now. These boys call me now and then. These boys check in. These boys are there, and these boys, you feel a sense of achievement seeing these boys, knowing where they're coming from.
Mr. Williams, welcome to the show. Welcome to the channel.
Good evening,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Parkman. How is everyone doing? Blessings.
Yeah, man. Happy Good Friday.
Yeah, man. Blessings, blessings.
And the
Happy Easter.
family. Yeah. So I know you were listening before. Mr. Meeks share his opinion on it. Should failing grade bench student athlete? And why I come up with this topic is that somebody is saying that everybody can learn and everybody should learn. So if somebody come into the school and only want to play sports, they should find a club. School is for students first. And they're
Mhm.
saying that a lot of these athletes that is playing Manning Cup and doing track and field, all they come to school is to play ball, and they come for the football season, and then them stop, then come back again for the next football season, like it's like the school is running a club, and this needs to stop. That's what they're saying. But I have a different twist to it, and I want to hear yours now.
All right, so
Mm.
I'm going to speak about this firstly from an educator standpoint. From my background, you know that I have taught for 5 years at the primary level, 4 years at the university level. So I'm quite familiar with what formal education is intended to be. Now let's think about it from an education standpoint. What is the why do we have schools? Why do schools exist? So schools are there really to equip students with the skills, knowledge, expertise, and the know-how to be able to be functional in society.
Yes.
Beyond everything else, that is the most important thing. That is what a school is intended to be. Now, what does that look like for a student athlete? Now, if we think about schools, their responsibilities and a student athlete. Let's say a student is enrolled in a particular school. The onus is still on the school to provide the best services that they are to allow the child or the student athlete to develop holistically. When we say holistically, we're talking about providing the best opportunity to learn, the environment and the infrastructure to allow them to excel in their athletic or in their sporting path, and also trying to support them to make mentally sound decisions. But what we find far too often is because there is the need to win, and every school is now jostling for power and trying to be seen as the best. There are instances where most schools deny or there's that negligence in terms of accepting the fundamental reason why schools exist, and
Right.
that is to support this child or this student athlete to learn, to grow, and to develop. And from an educator standpoint as well, you may say, well, Mr. Williams, there may be instances where an athlete or a student is just not able to learn. However, I have heard that on many instances before. I have taught classes with 40, 50 students. Coach Parchment, you remember the first class I taught, we had like 48 students.
Yes,
And I
yes,
had
yes.
students at that point who weren't the most brilliant, but what they did was that they tried, they worked hard, and incrementally you can see gains and you can progress. Learning doesn't mean, that you're going to get 9 6 subjects or 10 subjects at the end of your tenure, whether a 5 year. However, it's about growing each and every day. So if you can come into a session, it doesn't have to be a formal class either, because if the child or the student is not learning, the school can have different interventions, different programs, and different things to allow that student athlete to grow and to develop. So I think it's important to find that balance. And once schools are able to remind themselves why they exist, I think it's really up to them to support the student athletes and to ensure that they get the best from the institution, be it from an education standpoint and also being allowed the opportunity to participate in sporting events.
Okay, okay, okay. Sounds pretty good. So what you said about somebody who says, if there's a child, yeah, you're in the high school system and there's a child that, come into the high school system at say grade 4 level reading or stuff like that, but he has good talent in football, right? But that child not giving any trouble, him not doing anything that is outrageous in the school. He willing to try with you, but would you stop him from playing football and just focus straight on academic?
No, under no circumstances. And again, I'm going to speak on this from an educator standpoint, from the student athlete standpoint, and also from the surrounding circle, meaning the environment that the child is from. Firstly, we have to remind ourselves as an educator, there are certain limitations in relation to certain students, be it from their family background, their socioeconomic statuses, and whether or not they have the abilities needed to matriculate. What does that look like? If you think about most schools, in order to matriculate or to play sports, you will have different criteria, right? Some
Right.
schools may require maintaining 70, 80 averages. Some schools may require just the bare minimum, such as the pass. Some schools may require you participating in a certain amount of courses or classes enrolled and certain sessions that you have to participate in. However, what we find is that there you may find instances where some students are just not able to progress to that point. However, it's still important that the schools provide the support, the systems, and the infrastructure to support that student athlete. However, the student athlete has a role to play as well. The student athlete has to show up, has to take him his or her classes seriously, has to participate, and there should be that willingness to learn. And once the student athlete is trying, once the school is supporting that athlete, then I don't think the child or the student athlete should be prevented from participating in any sporting events.
And then, all right. So the next question now: do you call this failure? That child, that same child that you described, right?
Go again, Coach Parchment.
Yeah, that's that same child that you described. Would you call it a failure if that child goes through the system and don't pass any CXC, but excels in his sporting career, represents Jamaica at the highest level?
And again, Coach Parchment, which is why I try to explain to you what learning really is. Passing 4 or 5 6s, it's not really the key determining factor to suggest that someone has learned or someone is learning. It's about being present, it's about growing incrementally daily, and it's about taking the initiative or the initiatives needed to be able to grow and to develop. Far too often, when we think about schools, this is the mistake that most schools make. There are schools today that exist simply to participate in these events, and they only care about winning. That I
Okay.
agree with. That I agree with. If that is a crux or that is a main aim of these schools, then this is where the challenge is. If the school is not supporting the students, if the school is not providing the programs, the specific support, the interventions, then what will happen is that the student will participate in sports and at the end of the day will not get any subjects or will not grow and will not develop what we call life skills. And that's just as important as getting 4 5 6 6 subjects on a piece of paper, which is also good. However, I don't think you should prevent student athletes from excelling at what they do because most of the professionals know the biggest athletes in the world. They did not complete formal education. They did not graduate from Yale or Harvard or the best universities in the world. However, they participated in certain environments, be it through sporting academies, other institutions where they grew and they learned critical life skills. And which is why when you have agents, you have lawyers, you have different people, because they still got those skills developed from an early age, they were able to make sound decisions. So I think schools exist to support that platform for students, but we now know that some schools exist to just to win. And when you neglect the student athlete, that is where the challenge is.
So all right, then you say that once you can find a balance, still keep you would say, your standard in terms of what you would select a student into your school, based on pep now the pep profile, and still keep that balance. Create programs for the slow learners because you're going to take them. Some will take them based on the quality in terms of sporting activities and stuff like that. School challenge quiz, all different something. But you must create that balance for that
Yeah,
child to succeed.
yeah, and which is why the first thing I spoke about was the fundamental purpose of all schools.
Mhm.
Schools exist, particularly here in Jamaica, schools exist to provide the best learning experiences for our students. For the students who participate in sporting events, do you know what they're considered as? They're considered amateur sporting events.
Right.
Amateur simply means that it's not professional in any way. So you really it's like a vocational or a leisurely activity because it's amateur in nature. It's not professional in any way. But we find that
It's
sports
not
has
supposed to be.
expanded. No, sports has expanded so much that sports today in the 21st century, it can earn you a living. It can allow you to make sound and sensible decisions. However, on the backdrop, you need to have good people around you and also being smart enough to be able to make good decisions. Let me share an example with you. So if you follow NFL and if you follow learning and schools overseas, there is no what we call the transfer portal. There is the NIL. So you earn money to participate in sporting events in the US. Now there is this QB, a quarterback for Tennessee. It was just last week. And what he did was that he thought because he made a poor decision, he was lobbying for more money from his schools and his friends and his families. The people in his inner circle told him that he should pull out from training. He didn't attend the training. He wasn't visible. He wasn't really going to school. And the challenge with this was that the people that he had around him allowed him, forced him to make a bad decision. Now, mind you, Coach Parchment, he was making $2+ million, to play in college. He wanted 2.5. He then
Mhm.
left the school, jumped in the transfer portal, and no school has decided to sign him. So no, he's not playing for any school, and he's there just sitting. And they're trying to make an example of him. And a part of the reason why he found himself in that situation was that he wasn't able to make sound decision, a smart decision. And I take you back to the purpose of school. It's about supporting the student athlete and ensuring that these challenges do not exist. Because if he was able to develop that rapport with the school community and with those around him, he would not have found himself in that situation. And it's a problem here for student athletes as well, in that the schools are really not supporting the student athletes. And there are student athletes as well who may simply think, I may not need to learn. I don't think school is important, but it is, because you may need to negotiate. You may need to negotiate a contract. You may need to negotiate endorsement deals. You may need to negotiate with your lawyer. And if you're not smart enough to make these decisions, you could find yourself losing money, making bad decisions, which could, on a long term, affect your career as well.
Yes. Shavan, welcome to the channel, sir. How are you doing? Shavi P. Shavan, Pierre. Shavan. Jordan, big up yourself, Jordan. Shavan, you're not there? All right, look, move on to this message. Here is someone I don't know. Okay, here and see, yes, man, big up. Anyway, um, somebody said without this message, Mr. Williams, without academics and a proper education, athletes usually don't progress after their teen years. Being a professional athlete requires comprehensive skills and listening skills and tacit knowledge. But without academics and proper education, athletes usually don't progress after their teenage. You believe that means?
Hold on. Is this person talking about athletics only or sports in general?
Sports in general.
No,
Athletes, athletes, not athletics, athletes, sorry.
no, no, that's not true. That's not an accurate statement. If he wanted to say athletics, then we could probably have a discussion. But if it's athletes in general, that's not true. Let's think about the collegiate system for a minute. So the collegiate system, and we're going to think about it from an American standpoint, because we have athletes who matriculate to universities and such. If you know the college draft, right? The
Yes.
NFL draft, most people participate, they are one and done. When we say one and done, is that they go to college for 1 year only, and then after that, they're eligible to participate in the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, and other sporting events around the world. That could earn them millions. If we think about the NFL draft, if you're selected the first pick, you get 40 million US guaranteed for your first 4 year on your contracts. And depending on where you're drafted, this is what we call one and done. So you can secure deals, sponsorships. However, what we should understand is that education is still important. So though those individuals did not formally complete their education, then what we find is that student athletes, some tend to go back to school after they're through, some tend to study afterwards, because the moment you sign or if you leave, you will exit any sponsorships that you have. However, some people do study afterwards, which is good. So there does exist a pathway for you to earn and to be successful. Just the same, it doesn't mean that you have to study for 4, 5, 6 years, because most successful athletes now, they did not complete a doctoral degree. LeBron James only did 1 year in college, and he's now a billionaire. So I
Say
think,
it again. Say it again.
yeah, he's a billionaire. He was recently
How
appointed
many
a
years?
billionaire.
How many years in college?
He only did 1 year. He was a one and done. He exited college at 18. So too did Kobe Bryant. Kobe
Mm.
Bryant also was a one and done. He left, I
It's
think, when he was
Kobe Bryant.
18,
Kobe Bryant was drafted straight from high school.
straight from high school. So thank you. So you so
You know that
LeBron was a one and done. So most of the athletes
you know
overseas, Coach
basketball?
Parchment. And Coach Parchment, one more thing, and I
Yes.
think this needs to be said as well. Our athletes as well, when they go overseas, let's say they go up on a scholarship. If you do a survey or if you do research, you'll find that most of them, they don't formally actually complete their studies either. Because after 1 or 2 years, what happens is that they get sponsorship deals. And in order to really claim that sponsorship deal or endorsements, you have to exit your collegiate sponsorship. So most of them, and we have had athletes who have done that and they have been successful. So I don't think simply saying that you have to get an education at the tertiary level, a bachelor's degree, that's not true. But I think you should be smart enough to be able to make sensible decisions.
All right, Mr. Meeks, this one is for you. Without a standard, there will be no structure. This leads to ambiguity, presumed early success, and long-term failure.
Yeah, I agree, but you highlighted something earlier, and let me be clear that I am not supporting anything like this. You said that you have persons in the high school system who only come for school for the required season.
No, I'm saying what people say. People is saying.
No, but if that is true, then I'm
Mm.
not supporting that any at all.
Mm.
That is absolutely no. A child should be at school, and the fundamental purpose of being at school is to learn.
So, as a
That's
coach,
to
that ever happened
learn.
to you yet as a coach in
No,
the system?
no,
Have you ever bring in a child for that purpose
no,
only?
no, never. The fundamental purpose of, I believe that the fundamental purpose of a school, and everybody will tend to agree, is for learning, teaching and learning. However, I strongly agree, believe that there are some students who will not learn at the level that you would like them to learn. And I don't see that as being a tool to disbar them from doing whatever they are good at. That's all I'm saying. But when you highlight that persons are of the view that some students are coming to school just for the season, after the season you don't see them, that can't be a system that you support. That cannot be a system.
But
But then persons will argue that the reason why they don't come after the season is because they don't get the support that they get during the season in terms of lunch and this and that. So that's another argument. So as an educator, we need to investigate and try to find the underlying cause why a child would come to school at a certain time. Because I do know that just before a season and during a season, kids are taken well cared of. What happened after? Because if a child don't have the financial structure at home and don't have the parental structure, cannot find the money to come to school. But say me, the management or whoever around the team, the school administration staff provides lunch and provides this and provides that for the child, ensure that the child has bus fare or this to come to school and go back home and all that. Then the child probably come. But say January, will the child get any support if the child is in need? If the child is not getting that support and genuinely don't have that to attend school right throughout the year, then that's another thing that needs to be solved. We cannot blame the child. However, if we have a child who deliberately don't face these challenges and just decide when it's season they
it
are
can't
at
be this child
school,
alone, child and the parent.
whoever, then we can't allow that
No,
because
no.
school is about teaching and learning, attending school and etc.
Attendance.
Because teaching and learning goes up far away apart from just the paper and pencil. It goes how you interact with people, how you do this, how you behave in certain situations. It's all about that. So I want to make it clear that I'm not in support of a system like that. And I'm in a support of a system that a school assists a child academically, try to take the child from the point that you receive that child to the next point. And once you see progression being made, ensure that you keep that child and bring that child to the maximum point
Hmm.
and don't discard that child. That's all I'm saying.
And you have never done that before.
Never.
Yeah, I hear that from Mr. Meeks. Yeah, from Mr. Meeks. But Mr. Meeks, a lot of people may say those students who come up with those issues and so it's all in the books of ISA to go around the rules and so on to play sports and so on. So it's just story they're building and them kind of create something that to make it true. But really and truly, they just don't want to go to school, they just want to play football. What do you have to say about that?
If a child wants to play football, then just football, then you have to send that child to a club. a club will facilitate just play football. A
Or
school
academy.
cannot support just playing football or any other sporting event there is.
Mm.
So I think a lot of schools in the country areas, these are some of the issues that they face, and they tend to lose athletes over the years because of certain factors.
Mhm.
But I know personally that ISA has a little role where I think mostly town schools or Spanish town or St. Catherine schools would exploit is that a child will not attend school, and then you could use the clause of being living in a volatile
Volatile
area,
area.
and because of that you couldn't attend school and etc. And they will waiver you. But that's another issue that needs to be addressed. If don't get me wrong, in some cases you will have that, and it's been true, it's true. But what about the persons who are exploiting the system? So I'm saying, as educators, as school administrators, as all of the, we have to find a way to structure and standardize the thing properly to ensure that kids, not just kids, managers who, because a lot of managers are in the school just for bragging rights and this. So they are going the extra mile to see how they can go around the loophole. We have to cut that out.
Yeah, really have to cut that out. Mr. Williams.
Yeah, man, go ahead,
Yes. So
Coach
this
Barkley.
one was professional athlete starts their professional career early. Usually continues to get educated, not formal in class, school, but education. Most that doesn't are likely short-term success. You agree?
I agree with the first part of the post.
Hmm.
That that person is actually accurate. Most people who opt to take it professionally, whether or not even if it's from an athletic standpoint, in NBA and in NFL, it's much different because they make so much money that most of them they don't really go back to study afterwards. But for most athletes, though, those who participate in track and field, you find that if they opt out of college after they're on their scholarships to pick up endorsement deals or to really earn a living from the sport itself, you find that after a couple of years afterwards, most of them actually go back to complete their degrees, which is really good. And
Yeah.
for athletes here in Jamaica as well who opt to continue on the collegiate path and to complete their degrees, that is also another viable option. So at the end of the day, it's about choosing an option that suits you. And I believe that if you were qualified, smart enough to earn yourself a collegiate scholarship in the first place, it shows that you have matured to a level intellectually where you're able to make sound lifelong decisions. And schools exist, adding to Mr. Meek's point, schools exist not only to support a child academically. I think Mr. Meek said that schools exist to support a child to grow and develop what we call holistically. And holistically, it's not just from an academic standpoint, it's about allowing the child to grow academically, spiritually, physically, and fundamentally. Hence, why in all curriculums, we teach students across three domains. There's a cognitive that deals with teaching and learning, there is a psychomotor which deals with physical abilities, and there's the affective which deals with how you feel. And that is what most schools try to do to provide that holistic experience for students to develop. And I do agree with Mr. Meeks in that education is vitally important. And if there is a student athlete who simply wants to show up at a school and not being willing to learn or to participate, there is a dilemma there. One that the schools, the parents, and those around that child will have to navigate. So it's a sensitive issue. But if I was a principal of that school, I know what I would do. I would see how best I could create an IEP, an intervention plan. I could see how best I could support that child through interventions, through evening schools, through self-paced learning, meeting with that child, through counseling. I would try all that I possibly could in terms of the resource and the contacts that I have to support that child academically and also allowing that child to see how best they could grow in their sporting careers or path if they choose to take that path.
Yeah. Somebody say low the academic and technical school since they want to focus on scholastic studies. this will continue the classic disparities where Babylon are reinforced on the next generation.
No
I
idea
have
what that person is
no
trying to
idea.
say. No idea.
Anyway, somebody asked me why I put up a somebody picture in the thumbnail. It's just anybody picture, any footballer, checker. It don't really mean nothing, right? So it's just anybody. It just does make the thumbnail and make it catchy. It's nothing. I'm not saying that the person said is not bright or whatever with the case, because that person is excelling right now. He's on the verge to make millions of dollars from playing football. So it's what it is. One on one. So question though, Mr. Williams. So for track and field athletes, they don't get paid in the collegiate system.
Yeah, man. Remember, now, there was a recent reform in the US, what we call the NIL,
Yes.
name, image, and likeness. So with the NIL, now you're able to actually earn based on NIL agreements or endorsement deals. And which is why the transfer portal has become so significant. I think I mentioned it earlier because most athletes now they aren't even finishing at one college. So they will, for those who go up on a scholarship, well, they are tied to the scholarship unless they intend to go pro. But that's only from a track and field standpoint. But there are other sports, right? If you are in the US, but it's a bit tricky for those student athletes from Jamaica who do go up on scholarships. For those athletes, you're tied to the scholarship, but you can still earn what you call NIL endorsements and agreements. So you can actually earn a living now even if you are there in US. I don't know the stipulations for some schools, whether or not you can still get those NIL deals if you're on the scholarships. But I know with a recent reform there, most student athletes now in the US can actually earn through NIL, which is name, image, and likeness. I think one of the QBs for Michigan, he's earning like $4 million per year now to play in college. So it shows that there's an opportunity to earn a revenue there. So I don't know the specific information as it relates to those students on scholarships.
All right. So one and done in America, sports is refers to students athletes who has completed high school and has met the basic requirement for college, university level work. Leon Bailey is a billionaire and him not have no degree. Now I forget when you see him say from long time how some uptown guys discriminate him success and is the true reason why them rob him too.
You don't need a formal degree to be a successful athlete. However, I will caution those individuals because guess what? When you have gotten to a certain level, Coach Meeks know, and you know Coach Parchment as well, what you have around you is a team of individuals. No, this team is going to be comprised of lawyers, specialists, advisors, and the very best technical expertise that you can possibly get for the smartest individuals, those who are successful. LeBron James, Steph Curry, most of them they did not, and they are close to becoming billionaires, or if not billionaires. But what they do is that they surround themselves with
Self with
people who
smart
are
people.
skilled, competent, and
Oh,
knowledgeable in key areas,
oh,
and they themselves don't have to make those decisions, but they can rely on confidence and successful individuals to guide their decisions. And we have athletes who can do that. So though Leon Bailey has not studied to that level, he may have a team of individuals around him who are robust and are smart and equipped enough to make those decisions. And I don't think Leon Bailey is incapable of making those decisions either. So you can become successful, but I do believe that most successful athletes, when they get to a particular point, they normally surround themselves with competent people who allow them or help them to make sensible decisions.
and I want to cut you a while. Like I was just trying to say this. Have you ever seen this though? Most of those people who, after carrying persons around them to do certain things in their management team, that person, always good at one thing. And you know what one thing is?
What's that?
One thing is numbers. You can't rob him so easy.
Yeah, man, as I said, most people they normally have a team around them: financial advisors, lawyers, specialists, nutritionists. They normally have a team of individuals around them that they rely upon to be able to make certain key decisions. So I think it differs for each individual, but it still takes you back to the purpose or the benefits of, even if you're not educated to that point, but still being able to rely on people around you who have the intelligence and the know-how to guide you into making certain decisions.
Yeah. What do you think, Mix? Most of those persons them have a special talent sometime.
But you need that if you know that you're weak in a particular area, then you get somebody who can deal with that aspect for you. That's just the smart way of doing it.
All right. So I want to jump over now to a different topic. I think we had exhaust that one, that first one. We want to jump over to now to Asafa Powell and his comment that he made.
One
Right?
more thing, Coach Parchment, before you
Yeah, no problem.
switch to that topic. Yeah, man, I want to commend you for the contribution you made to the Idols captain and their reign this year, Taifa Go. Many may not be familiar, but Taifa Go, Coach Parchment, I think his fingerprints are there heavily from about grade one, right? From about grade one, grade two, grade three,
Well, I retract my bread.
all the way up from when you were coaching Taifa. Me
Uh,
about grade three.
yeah, early
Yeah,
up,
man.
early.
Yeah, yeah. And I taught her in grade five and grade six. So
So yeah,
definitely
and I
Coach
was like
Parchment.
before you, right?
I want to give you
Grade
props.
two.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
man.
think
I
it's
want
grade
I
three.
think it's grade three. So I wanted to give you some props, because I know your fingerprints are there. So you helped Heidel this year, Coach Parchment, to win that title.
Yeah, and this I mean, you know them something and them things them is a pian. It's good.
Yeah, man. So you helped Heidel this year.
What me are talking about? Yeah, man. But somebody come now and make them know what time it is. You understand me? So the people in the comment section, pian coach, yeah? I, I don't remember. I don't know if you remember the other one that I'd worked with at Calabar, Ricky Reed. I don't know if they had left the
Yeah,
school.
man. I remember Ricky Reed. You usually used to send me pictures. I think you do a 400 when you were coaching him.
Yes,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yes.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
remember. Mm-hmm.
all right. So going over now to what Asafa Powell has said. A lot, somebody said Asafa Powell is gone. But now we call him name. We can't find out. Well, listen to this.
Honestly, guys, if the support system don't change, Mike is not running for Jamaica. Not running for Jamaica. Sorry to say that, you know what I mean? But it's just facts, you know what I mean? My wife is Canadian and Ghanaian, so there are options. You know what I mean? I remember back in 2006, I was offered.
All right. I go stop it there. So I stop it and go through it, So the first thing I want to ask Amix now. You have a you have some children, right? And them show potential in track and field football, whatever sports. And them can represent other country. Based on the offer, will you choose Jamaica, where you're born, you're going to choose where the money is and you can better your life, or what is your choice?
I don't want you to subject it to money. I want you to subject it to a better opportunity. At the end of the day, any person who partake in track and field,
Mm-hmm.
they're there for one thing. Two basic reasons: self
Mm-hmm.
as well as financial gains, because they have a short span in the sport, and after the span is finished, they have life to live, so they have to gain from it. So, Asafa Powell expressing himself, I have absolutely no problem with what he's saying. I tend to agree with what he's saying. He has to look out for the best interests of his kids. And he has some concern with the federation in Jamaica. And he will be important, he will be critical in terms of what he's saying, because I think he would have experienced it directly. So he did not go into any detail as to what is the issues, but he knows what he's speaking about, and I know that persons who hear the argument from the higher beings will know what he's speaking about. So this
So
his son is qualified for Jamaica,
Mhm.
mm, Ghana,
Mhm.
and Canada. I don't think Ghana would be an option. No disrespect to
No,
Ghana,
you
but
can't say that,
yeah,
It's money.
yeah.
Remember, I saying money,
No, but I think
It was
Canada would be if it's financially. Canada
But
would
Ghana
be.
would have give him some land. Jamaica not give him land. Jamaica would prefer give China man them the land them.
Hold on. We need to move away from giving away and giving away. We need to create a packet system in Jamaica where athletes can benefit financially. Benefit. Hey, when you come from
So
the
you have
amateur,
issues.
hmm?
You have issues with how the system is in terms of athletes and so on.
I would love to see that the athletes who participate in terms of medical care, certain issues. I think we can do better. I really think we can do better. If you have certain athletes and they have certain injury, we must can do those aspects. If we can't do so much, we can do a little. Because if you get healthy athletes, they can make their own money. And when you look at countries like Canada and United States, and they're doing so much for their athletes, persons are going to go to the better pasture. And I cannot argue that. I would actually love to see if he has that tremendous talent representing Jamaica. But if he doesn't, I can understand and I will sympathize with
Mr. Williams, before I go to you, somebody said, bro, the man said that unprovoked. Maybe Asafa is seeking attention. Bro, the man's son win one race the other day. Although he's at basic school, kindergarten, I think. And maybe somebody got text and say, yo, the future
him.
Asafa.
Let me say
And
something.
it provoke him, you know?
Let me say something. Asafa's son winning is no surprise. Have you ever watched Asafa page?
Yeah.
You need to watch
See what
Asafa
work.
page.
Oh, you watch it?
Yeah, him a train the boy and all resistant ban
You
and
never know
all
watch
these
episode of
things.
it.
The man I do with the pitney, I mean
Yeah.
I say, come on Asafa, you push it too much. Let the youth grow and develop and make him get what yeah. But if a youngster is training like Asafa is training, he's expected to because none of those the other kids maybe not when you find them and do them the work there.
Pocket Rockets on too.
I don't know about
You have
pocket.
to go challenge.
I
You
never
have to go
see
challenge Pocket Rockets on
that.
there. Kind
Yeah,
of. Mr. Williams, what your take on it based on his remark and his son representing a different country? If certain things don't fix in Jamaica.
Well, he said certain things, so without specific information based on what his particular experiences are, it's really unfair for us to really comment about the situation because we don't know exactly what he was making reference to. However, as a parent, it's well within his right to guide his child however he chooses to do so. If he thinks that there are better options for his child, then as a parent, it would be irresponsible of him not to suggest alternative routes in order to be successful or to see that there are different opportunities that you can exploit. I can say that Asafa benefited or has benefited from being a Jamaican, and the prestige that is attached to track and field here in Jamaica, you're not going to find that anywhere else in the world. I listened to a podcast the other day, I think one with Justin Gatlin's podcast, and he was talking about how Jamaican athletes are viewed versus how they are viewed in the States. And in the podcast, he said, Noah Lyles as well, both of them, I think they had a podcast. They said, after Olympic coach parchment or after a World Championships, when they return home, the only person who meets them, greets them, is their wives, a close friend, a family member, and then they go home. No one remembers that they participated um in an Olympic, in a World Championship. They don't have any statues there. And this is Justin Gatlin's word, and also Noah Lyles. They don't have any
But,
statues
but
there. There are
all
no
the stars
ceremonies.
there.
There are no statues. There are no ceremonies to celebrate them. There are no annual award ceremonies. There is nothing of notoriety to suggest that these are our Olympic athletes and these are our World Championship athletes because it's like they don't care. However, in Jamaica, there is that prestige to track and feeling that our athletes are loved. They're celebrated when they do well and they are critiqued when they don't do as well. So, as Jamaicans, we build statues. As Jamaicans, we give them endorsement deals. As Jamaicans, whenever our athletes do well, we shower them with love. When they don't do well, we are a bit harsh because this is our sport. We love our athletes. And if Asafa thinks that the athletes need or should get more, I can understand because he's a former world record holder, so he probably has information that we don't have. However, I can say that Jamaicans and Jamaica as a country, what we do for most of our athletes, it's not done across the world in most countries because we really celebrate our athletes because this is our sport and we try to show them with love. Financially, I don't know. I am not in anyone's pocket, but I can only talk about the general things that we have done as a culture. And can we do more? I don't know. But another thing, Coach Parchment, track and field is not an affluent sport, meaning it does not produce the revenue that the other sports actually would possibly pay. In the Grand Slam chat, no. An athlete did an interview just the other day, and he said for the 100,000 that he collected is the most money he has ever collected from he has been participating in track and field. 100,000, Coach Parchment, if you compare that, that's like a day's salary for most of the top athletes around the world. And we're talking about some of the very
Understand
best.
that?
Yeah, and I'm talking about
That,
some of
that
the best
that's
track
a
and field athletes. So
that's a weekly salary
that's a
to
weekly
right
salary
earning.
for most people. And he said it's the most money he has ever seen in his 13-year career. So another thing we have to consider is that track and field, it does not produce the amount of revenues that the other sporting events produce. But as a country, should we support our athletes?
What do
Definitely.
you cause that?
Um, Many things, many things. I think it's because the sport is poorly marketed. Another reason is because most of the global markets, they already have major sporting events that are rich in their history. In the US, that's the NFL, that's the NBA. They consider it their sports. In Europe, it's football. That's their sports. In Australia, in the subcontinent, they think about rugby, they think about cricket, that's their sport. In South America, it's football. So it's not really as big of a sport in other countries because the only time that most of those countries actually care
India and
is
them,
when
Pakistan and cricket.
and Pakistan is cricket, India is cricket. Yeah, and those countries they spend. I can tell you, Coach Parchment, if track and field was a premier sport, let's say in the US or in Europe, these athletes would have been earning a fortune. But the reality is, it's not. So
Only,
most of the
only boat.
global,
Only boat.
yeah. So that's where the challenge is.
But the question though pertaining to to Asafa utterance, is it his choice though to choose for his kids when they
It's
make
well
his
within,
kids?
it's well within his right to guide his child however he sees fit. It's
Yes, but
his
at
child.
18 years old, is it the child's
It
decision?
will be it will be the child's decision at some point, but Coach Parchment he is the father, so it's well within his right to guide his child however he sees fit. I won't comment on how he chooses to parent his child. I don't think I should have a say in what he says or how he guides and influences his child. That's not my decision, and I
Okay,
don't think yeah.
somebody said, so well I'm Jordan, I'm not brilliant. Here, somebody said, somebody said, I'd see it. You always have some brilliant persons on your panel. This man is brilliant. Uh, I tell you already to give me this man number. So Mr. Meeks in Dasha, you know. Jordan Dasha, you know. Remember, Jordan, I see him come for the team and now here, Mr. Williams, in Dasha, you know. Jordan, when I write for free over here, yeah? Money have to up. Money have to up, my boss. Mayweather can buy any amount of professionals needed to assist his career. That's definitely true. Um, Parchi and Meeks, give the man my number. You're doing the live show, bro. You're doing the live show. Yeah, you're doing the live show. Anyway, let me continue with what Asafa said.
Millions of US dollars to run for another country. And at the time, I turned it down because I didn't know it was hard for me, so I didn't know what the future would. If I knew what I know now, I would have taken up that opportunity. You know what I mean? So I love my country and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it's business is my life, it's my future. If we don't have support, money makes the world go round, and everybody want more money every day, and we want to be comfortable and live a good life. No athlete want to retire and go work a 9 to 5 or go sit down and struggling, wondering what's next. We all want to have a good life afterwards. Our money should work for us when we retire. And then one of the people, you guys feel like you want to level up and all that stuff and feel like you want to disrespect athletes, but it's a different level. Man. If you don't go to the Olympics and win a medal, it's like you haven't accomplished anything. No other sport does that. Football, most of the footballers has never been to Olympic Games. Most of the basketballers have never been to Olympic Games. A lot of people never go to Olympic Games, and yet they're the greatest athletes in the world and all that stuff. But track and field, if you don't go to the Olympics and win a medal or do this and do that, you're nobody.
So him go on a tangent now talk about money, and then him start talk about not getting recognition because of the sports and one bag of something him go down pan, right? And then him like him a say Jamaican, them not get we not really give them the recognition and we beat them left, right, and center and all them something. You understand? I disagree with that totally, Mr. Mix, right? If you're not performing, right? Where Asafa Powell don't win no big championship, but when he runs for the money. You can say, say this, tell me say Asafa only go for the Diamond League race them with the money there. BS by way man said to me, right? He only go for the Diamond League race them with the money there. What do you think?
Me not think so.
What do you think, Mix? Talk to me.
Me not think so. The man make a valid point. You need money. The reality, brother. I don't think I don't share the same opinion that you share. I think he tried at major events and he just wasn't successful. I just saw it go. Partially.
Tried?
Yeah, I mean if the man got
Tried
Olympics and World Championship and try for win.
Tried out.
What do you mean by try out? You run, normally run and people just out.
Makes the man lose Reginald, we beat him and him vex.
No bother with that, brother. Let me hear what my one there. Me not agree with that does not sound real. You have to say in God there's a lose.
Him not going to go put in a work in my
What
opinion.
do you mean, Battery? Stop talking about this, Reggie.
In my opinion, basically come 4th and 5th and we don't going to put this up. Also from Trinidad when beat up not the same. Win the money.
See, remember, these events, the Olympics and the World Championship, a lot is at stake. So the pressure,
that is at stake.
The tension,
no money is at stake.
The pressure is there, is larger than
money
running.
is at stake.
Hold on, Nancy. If you run around like a Diamond League, have that pressure.
More money.
You still depend
on. But Coach Mix, this is what makes you an all-time great. You cannot just simply say
hold on.
want to be seen.
We're not arguing about what makes him a great, What I'm arguing is that he was not just participating for the money. I believe he wanted to be a great. It just never happened for him at the major because he never deal with the psychological pressure, expectation.
And that is true.
Because the psychological pressure at the Diamond League is not as intense in the Olympic. It is not as
because
intense.
Money motivates him and that him listen to him something.
Brother. So you're telling me say Asafa never want to be a great. Going to the history book as
he's saying that.
Hold on, I'm asking you. You're saying that Asafa did not want to achieve. He just wanted to go Diamond League, run some race, win some money, and then done. Or he wanted to go to the Diamond League, run some race, win some money, come at the Olympics, come at the World Champion, dominate, and make everybody talking about it. Which one you think Asafa didn't want?
Hold on. Coach Mix, let me respond, Coach Mix. And firstly, let's start by highlighting Asafa as a great athlete, one who has done really good things for it. Because I want people or individuals listening now to know that we try to be as fair as we possibly can in our analysis of our athletes or on any topic that we speak about. And we want to acknowledge Asafa for being a great athlete in terms of putting Jamaica on the map, equaling the world record then in 04 977 on multiple occasions, and he was expected to win in the '04 Olympics when he didn't. The challenge coach makes, and this is where I slightly disagree with you, though I understand the premise of your argument. Asafa, though he has participated and he has gone into every race, I can say if you line up in 100 meter in any race on the playground, at the Olympics, on Diamond League, it's not Diamond League. Then when he competed, it was called the Golden League, Coach Parchment, if you remember. It wasn't the Diamond League, it was a Golden League then. When you line up in that race, I know you're participating to win. Everyone enters every race to win, to be successful and to be the best athlete. However, what separates a good athlete from a great athlete, it's your ability to get over the final hurdle. And far too often we have seen Asafa excel up to the ninth barrier and unfortunately was just not able to surpass and to go over the 10th barrier.
So let
Does
me
that
tell you
mean
one thing.
does
So
does
you're
that
saying
mean does that mean he's not a great athlete? Definitely not. He's an incredible athlete. However, his inability to produce in the clutch moments, in the biggest moments, will forever be seen as failed
is
potential because he
that,
just didn't do
and
it.
I
And
agree with that. I
yeah,
agree with I
he just
agree with
didn't do
that.
it.
But this is the argument that I'm saying. The argument that I'm saying, I'm not disagreeing that we will always see him as a person who never um achieve at the majors. What I'm arguing is that he did not achieve at the majors for a number of reasons. Some of the reasons we don't know, but one of the reasons what I think is that the pressure of the situation, he was not able to deal with that psychological thing,
Fair
and he
point.
failed. He failed.
Fair
No,
point.
I cannot stand here and accept where Unseen is going to tell me that because there's no money in an Olympic race or a world championship,
No,
that's why he didn't want to win.
no,
I
I,
cannot
I,
accept that.
no,
I
no.
just can't see
I
the
agree.
logics behind that.
I
Can I,
agree. I
can
agree. I agree.
I,
And Coach Parchment, that's not a good stance either because most
can I defend
athletes,
myself?
Most,
I don't think
mo-
it's that is what I wanted to say. Let me defend myself first,
yeah,
right?
man,
I am
that's
saying
not
he's morely motivated, and evidence are there. And
yeah.
based on what he has uttered out of his mouth, it says to me clear because me can interpret what I'm saying, right? I'm going to play it all about mix. Fine, because we don't
But
want to tell like,
Coach Parchment, you're actually true, you know. The evidence is there to suggest that in the Golden League when he participated, he
all
did
right?
much
Remember
better.
Golden League? Mix don't remember
You know,
Golden League.
yeah, yeah,
A
it's
Diamond
not
League, I
Diamond
only
League.
remember.
Coach Meek said Diamond League, but when he competed, it was called the Golden League. Today, Coach Parchment, we can reflect and we can say the evidence suggests, and this is true, you cannot argue this. The evidence suggests that he participated much better in the events that he was paid to participate in. That's a fact. You cannot argue it, you know, because the history is already there to say this was what he did
Mix around.
at the biggest events, the World Championships and the Olympics, the evidence again is there to suggest that he didn't cross the final hurdle. I think he had his best intentions. He really wanted to win. He wanted to represent his country. I felt that he really wanted to bring that gold medal over to Jamaica. And it's good that he wanted to win. But the reality is he didn't. And because he didn't, this is what separates a good athlete from a legendary athlete.
Uh,
And today, we can simply say Asafa has been a good athlete. However, we cannot say he has been a legendary athlete because
no.
he just didn't produce. He
Is
didn't. And
Van Blake a legendary athlete?
he most certainly is.
Okay.
Second fastest one in the world, winning
He,
world championship.
he has world championships. He has multiple individual medals to support. He has run what, 1926 Coach Parchment in the 200.
Yes,
He
and
also
9.6
ran
minutes.
9.69 in the 100. And he
Yeah.
has individual accolades as well. So you can definitely put him in that group. Definitely. It's like when you're considering the Mount Rushmore of basketball, you normally look at those with how many rings. You have your LeBron, you have your Michael Jordan, you have your Kobe. So I don't think it's fair to put a Safa in that club. He has the ability, but he doesn't have the
He
accolades
has
to show.
or he had.
He had.
He had. He had. Who knows? Maybe he can still stride out and give you a dime or something.
And next question to Mr. Mix is that how much Diamond League race you seen both had one?
Not a lot, you know.
No.
And him win the race them what you say
Have
that don't have the big money purse and so on. But he made those race big money purses.
Yeah,
He made them. He grabbed them and turned them in a big money.
different,
That's when he broke the record.
I don't think it is a fair argument to compare Bolt to any other.
different,
Why?
different motivation, Coach Parchment.
Bolt, that's
Bolt
different.
Bolt
No,
from
you
an
can't say that because Missy Asafa in a Diamond League race. Beat up Bolt for the money. I don't know when you're gonna tell me now. Come with something now. Beat him and Bolt going like Bolt have the documentary and say him can't believe the man beat him. Him have to go train hard. Him say anyhow Asafa get out on him, Asafa get out on him. Can't catch him back. And in that 100-meter race at the World Championship, you make some Trinidad man beat the Virgin.
He never make nobody beat him, brother.
Big.
People beat him. Take out that word they had up me head. He make
2 weeks
Coach-
before that.
Coach Mix- Coach Mix-
him sub
Coach
10.
Coach
And
Mix.
then you call Arm and
Coach
beat him,
Mix,
brush
Coach,
rub,
Coach
rub,
Mix,
rub,
I
rub.
want to agree with you, but the challenge is we know of the evidence that we can look back. And Coach Mix, it's not one championship. We're talking about multiple championships, you know. It's not
Only
one that
Ray
Coach
alone
Mix.
and both give the back
Coach
run.
Mix. No, I don't think Coach Mix. Coach Mix in the year 04, take it back to 04, when Asafa equaled the world record 977 about 4 times. The only athlete that was close to him that year was a brother from Cameroon called Obiquelo, Francis Obiquelo. Partially, I don't know if you remember that name.
Yeah,
In
man.
the final, no one could believe when Safa lost. And the time that beat him, I think it was about 996 in the final. And I think Kim Collins from St. Kitts even medal. And we couldn't believe Francis Obiquelo. And these individuals have never in their lifetime come close to running 9.8 or 9.7. And Asafa was doing it consistently for the entire season. And not even bronze. Jamaica was in. We just couldn't believe. But I think the evidence now, Coach Meeks, is that if it was a one-off, we could safely say you are right. But you cannot argue over multiple championships and world championships. The evidence is he just didn't produce. It's like you have a striker, Coach Parchment, and he play one whole season for 10 years and he never score a goal. It's the same thing, you know. It's like you buy a striker and he has been playing professionally for, let's say, Manchester United, and he hasn't scored any goals because Yasaf has never won an Olympic or a World Championship gold medal. The same thing.
no individual. He won relays. Remember?
Yeah, man. No, we're talking about individual.
Okay. I know I'm just playing.
Mm-hmm.
But hold on, you know. All I'm arguing, you know, is that Asafa just did not able to manage pressure. That's all me argue. And I don't feel like the pressure in the Golden League at that time was as intensive as running in the World Championship or the Olympics.
You're right.
He just could not deal with the pressure. As a coach, I have learned over the years that you will have a good athlete or a good footballer, and every day you have this footballer, he surprises you as to the things that he can do. But as soon as you have a match where the pressure and expectation comes onto that player, it's a totally different person. I
Mix.
mean, I have seen. Hold
Yeah,
on.
man. That
I
is
have
true.
seen this a number of times. A number of times. What I blame Asafa for, or whoever is around Asafa, is that they fail to accept, because Asafa has showed us consistently that he is a person who can run tremendous time. And when it comes to the majors, he was not performing. What was the reason?
Stephen Francis that coach him. We are talking about.
No, Stephen Francis was coaching him. That is the physical, that is the that aspect. But he needed somebody to coach the mind. The mind was the problem, you know. It wasn't a physical
His mind
issue,
was
you know.
to win the
Taught them the
right
foolishness.
after.
He
But it is
wanted
there.
to win goal,
He don't want to win no
individual
goal.
Talk foolishness, Bridget.
Big, Mr. Big.
Which person?
No, man.
Wanted to
Coach-
win goal.
Coach Parchman.
Is one.
Which
Hold
person
on.
would have get up every day, train for 4 and 2 years.
Mix, listen
And
this.
hold on,
Listen
man.
this.
Hold on. Which person would have get up and put them body through all that significant pain and discomfort and have a moment where he or she could achieve global title? And you are telling me, say they don't want it?
All right, that's what I'm gonna say to you
He
now.
wanted it, but he just never
Hold
get
on,
it.
me gonna give him from a technical standpoint. Coach, Mr. Williams. I'm more Mr. Williams can
Mhm.
correct me for wrong,
Yeah.
right? Can correct me for wrong. Um, some athletes gear themselves towards a particular event, right?
Yeah.
Now, most of the time, we see Asafa going out there from early season and win and run something and and do this and that. You have athletes such as Asafa gear himself for two big meets, big money meets, and then him gear himself towards the big thing, the thing where make you become a giant in the sport, which is really. Asafa mostly gear himself for the Diamond League and the Golden League. I don't know if it makes you remember Golden League back in the days.
It was Golden League before. It wasn't Diamond League. It was Golden
Golden
League.
League. Golden
At
League.
that
I
point,
see.
at that point, Coach Parchment, remember they had the gold blocks. You remember
Right.
that?
Yes, the Gold Blacks. So more if you understand where I come from in the mix. Right? No, Asafa as I say in whatever he does
Yeah.
in the track and field world. So him can tell him coach, boy, say, more and go out for them thing I do. More and go out for them thing Right? And the coach say, all right, that's you want. And but the coach know maybe somebody can continue this type of training to go through in the Olympics or the World Championships. And then them get a pull, grind or whatever kind of grind issues and them thing there. So
Yeah.
his training program kind of affect him also, Mr. Mix. And that comes down to his
Hold
decision
on.
and his coach's decision.
Hold on. Coach
Their
Parchment.
focus was mostly for winning the Diamond Leagues and the money.
Hold on. Coach
You know,
Parchment.
tell me
I
wrong.
think there is credence to both arguments. You raise a valid point, and Mr. Meeks also raise a valid point. I agree with Mr. Meek that I don't think Asafa lined up with the intention of losing. I don't think he lined up in any race, whether at the Olympics, the World Championships, the Diamond Leagues, or even at the national trials here in Jamaica. I honestly believe wholeheartedly that every event at every major championship, I do believe that he lined up and he genuinely thought in himself that he was going to win those races. But unfortunately, we have the evidence from 10, 15 years of competition to suggest that though he had the best intent and interest at heart, the fact is he just didn't. And his inability to make it to that point or to just get over the line to win a couple individual medals, it's one of those things that I think we may have to research one day to find out what was the underlying factor or reasons why Asafa just didn't capitalize on his immense potential. Because some of the times that beat him in those finals, it was ridiculous. It was as though in the rounds, Asafa looked completely different from the final. He looked superb in the heats, superb in the semifinals, and we were all in awe just waiting for a medal to show. So the evidence suggests that he always competed and excelled when he was relaxed. But in the pressure moments, the biggest moments, the history says he just did not produce. And that's a fact. And this is what separates a good athlete from a legendary athlete. This is what separates the LeBron James, the Michael Jordans from an average NBA athlete like a Charles Barkley. If you are an all time great, you have to deliver in the biggest moments. And he didn't.
And you know why is the biggest moment? Why is it the biggest moment?
The
Because a
biggest,
4 year it takes for you to go run.
yeah, man, Olympics, man.
4 year.
That's
He,
4 year now, brother. I mean, like,
And World Championship was 4 year.
no,
World Championship
it's
now
every
cut.
2 year.
World Championship is every 2 years. Olympics every 4 years.
That's 2 year.
Right. So every 4 year. And every 4 year, him go there and him not perform. And then Mr.
But,
Mix and then now in the same year there, him have sub 10, him have near him broke a record or something.
But
Yeah,
Coach Parchment, that's not it, you know. If you look at the rounds leading up to the finals, the heats, the semis, we're talking about Asafa jogging 9-8s, jogging, jogging. Coach
That's
Parchment,
good.
Mr.
yeah.
Mix,
So
Mr.
you have
Mix,
to know.
we
So
have
what's
been,
the point
Mr.
to
Mix, we
highlight
have
that?
been,
What's the point for highlight
After
saying
win
jog?
argument.
Hold on. In jog the 9-8 because he
jogging.
had no pressure.
And,
Nobody with
and
that.
that's and coach and Mr. Mix, that's what I just said. I said this is what separates a good athlete from a legendary athlete. His
I am not
inability to
arguing
produce.
of Asafa being a legendary Jamaican athlete. You know, I'm in agreement that he is an okay athlete. He was a good athlete. Put it
Yeah,
that way. He was a good athlete.
yeah.
If he was anywhere else in the world, he would be the man.
At one
But then
point he
he has
was. At
peak
one
and he
point he
had
was.
Usyk to contend with. So he's a good athlete. What I'm
Yeah.
arguing is that I cannot accept the argument that he deliberately or he had absolutely no interest wanted to win any major title because no money is there. I
No,
cannot
no,
accept that. That is
no,
just
no, no. I never said that. I never said that. I agree
And
with
you
you
never
there.
say that
and
either.
that you say
You
I'm
never say
saying.
none of interest.
And
I
that you
never
say.
say him to have any interest to win gold.
Yeah. Because
I'm
because I
saying to
said
you, in
because
gear,
I said
in gear, him training towards winning Diamond League races.
I don't know
Not
that
to
Coach
win.
Parchment. Coach
Not,
Parchment, that's speculation. We don't
that's
speculate
a
on this show.
speculation, but look,
No,
no, but
we don't
you
know.
remember, you
Speculation.
can use the result
Coach
to
Parchment,
create
Coach
a theory.
Parchment, Coach Parchment, we don't want to be a show where people suggest that we're speculating. We don't know his program. We don't know what he was training towards. We don't know. I think that's unfair to say.
So
And
all right,
again, we don't
you
want
don't know
anyone
the
to
means that
say,
you don't know the means that he runs and early
Coach
season.
Parchment, I don't know his program, so it's unfair for me to say he was peaking for
All right,
those
so I'm saying
particular events.
take out the program. Do you know the meets that he goes to and run sub things?
Coach Parchment, what I can say, I think that he lined up in every race hoping to win. Be it at the Olympics, at the Diamond League, I really felt that in those moments he thought he had a chance, and I really do believe that he thought he was going to win. I don't think he competed at the Olympics or World Championships to lose.
Only
But
time he start have doubts of winning is when Usain came on scene.
not just Usain. Whenever you see Tyson Gay, Justin Gatlin, or Johan
No,
Blake, all of
he
them,
was of the view that he could have win until they start beat him.
yeah, the moment he lines up with
Mr.
the best,
Mix, Mr. Mix, you remember the Trinidad bus? I don't think a Trinidad and Antigua bus him ass.
Him never expect that
his
party.
name is Richard Thompson. He's a
Him never
Trinidadian.
Bus
expect
him
that.
ass. So a trade a Jamaica and bus him ass. I think
Him,
I see him club too.
no, he
Richard
was
Thompson. Richard
Usain.
Thompson, Coach Parchment.
MVP, yeah, no,
He was
Racers.
No,
yeah.
Racers. It's an
Racers.
Bus him ass.
Richard Thompson
Richard
and
Thompson
Dan
bus him ass.
and
After
and
that
and
man a
and,
sub 10 the whole season.
Measure.
and
You know
Daniel
for those
Bailey and Daniel Bailey from Antigua beat him at one as
that
well.
talk again. All right. So my point is why I'm create this, is to say that if you don't win, people have a right to criticize you. If you
I,
win,
I,
people have a right to speak
Praise him.
and praise you.
I,
Asafa
I,
look like he don't want nobody to beat him.
no,
And that's
no,
why I'm
people.
talking about legendary this and that. Based on the
Yeah,
means of
yeah,
the
yeah.
club, so.
As fans, once you are fair, if you're praising the athlete, you also have a right to critique the athlete fairly. So whenever they're doing well, it's well within your right to give them a thumbs up. Whenever they're not doing well, it's also well within your right to be respectful in your analysis, but to also be honest. You have to be honest.
Yeah, I understand that.
Well, may I agree. May I
Yes,
have some and
you
say,
agree with now?
not this week a character.
Yes, tomorrow.
Starts today.
Today.
Tomorrow,
Yeah,
I check.
man. They have the opening ceremony today. They had the opening ceremony
You
today.
expect Jamaica dominating it again.
Yeah, man. Simple, simple something. Simple something.
Which athlete they looking at to really, grab
You
a
know,
people
you
crowd.
know, I haven't looked at the full list of Jamaican athletes to participate.
You can't give a
But
name them.
Shania Douglas gonna be there?
Yes, man.
Yeah, man. Then I'm expecting great things from her.
She's in under
Doctor,
20. We have Shabina Dakri who run 11.
Doctor is gonna be there as well.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I think those
We have
athletes
Sabina
will do
Dakri who
well.
run 11 8.
Card
Yeah,
out.
Mm-hmm. But
yeah.
so, but Sabina
We,
Dakri running 1 and 2.
yeah, we're going to dominate as per usual.
So you think Shania Douglas can beat Dakri
In what? In which one?
in the 100 meter?
That's kind of tricky. It's kind of tricky. No, I definitely put my money on her to win in the 200, but Dockery has been incredible all season in the flat 100, so it's difficult to choose at this point a class 2 athlete to beat the seasoned Dockery. I think I would choose Dockery for the 100.
How are they?
If I run, you know, I bet Bob Douglas in the 100.
No, mm-mm, mm-mm.
All right, for the boys section, under 20, Gary Card is out.
Yeah, I think Card as well.
So
I heard he's
Freeman,
actually been I heard he's actually been tutored by MVP. How accurate
yes,
is that?
that's true.
Yeah,
Very accurate.
he's
So
in he's in
Freeman
good
from
hands.
Georges and Shaquan Garden took take that position.
Yeah, I think we can have a character discussion separately because I haven't really looked at our athletes
Okay,
who are there.
you want
So
to get the
yes,
information before you come.
yes, it's going to be difficult for me to comment off the top of my head.
I did a video on it already. Spoke on all day, but we can do that for
Okay.
tomorrow because tomorrow is the day, so we can go through that and so on. So I'm gonna pick up a set of event that will be running where Jamaicans
Yeah,
will be looking for it tomorrow, and they will
yeah,
come on.
man.
Yes, because a lot of people tune into the channel when character is going on. You know, a lot of people. Julia
Yeah,
Alfred
man.
run 21:88 season opener. What do you think about that?
21-88
Yeah,
for a season opener. That's not
yeah.
bad. That's not bad. Still repping. Still repping. We have shares in her success. She's a St. Catherine athlete.
I hear people say,
So
"I'm just say, all right,
a part of that medal is linked to Jamaica. So I have
man,
no qualms
Julia,
or problems. I actually support her. She's a Caribbean athlete. She trained here in Jamaica, so she has ties to the country. I think St. Catherine, I heard they have a portrait of her or something like that. I think they should build her a statue there to motivate the students in that school. I think that would be a great idea. But I want her to do well. 21-8 to open her season actually isn't bad. It's a really good time. Really, really good time. Was it we needed?
no, I don't think so. Because
Because
Rarely came up at the
because
clock.
because 21-8 to open the season is actually very fast.
Yeah, man, I quick something, man. I break
That's
20.
very fast, which is why I asked if it was win aided.
Somebody say it's brilliant, not bad. It's brilliant. What do you mean,
So
not bad?
yeah, man, that's a really good time to open the season. I think that time could even earn you a medal. 21-8
Yeah,
could
yeah.
even get you a bronze.
But 21:8 is it's quite a bit far from 21:45. You know what I mean?
But it's a season opener, bro.
With a season opener, Coach Parchment, and we have to consider that probably she's still on weights, probably not even started her speed training or
Go for,
anything of that nature.
go say me see Asafa for that.
Because most of these athletes are not really start speed training yet. Because remember, Coach Parchment, the world championship, which would usually start early during the summer, is actually going to start further on down in the year. So the training programs have been tweaked by the coaches to have the athletes peak much later this year. Because remember, normally, traditionally, world championships would have been held over the summer, but it's further on down in the year in
Why,
this
why,
calendar year.
why is that?
I am not sure specifically. I haven't read about it, unfortunately. So I'm not sure.
But you think that there's a lot of different ways now to make money in the track and field arena now. You have the Grand Slam track and thing. Not seeing Alfred at the Grand Slam track to make some money. But I mean,
Yeah, man, most athletes, most of the money that they make over the course of their athletic careers is through sponsorship and endorsement deals. Like their
mhm.
sponsorships with like Nike and Adidas and Puma. That's how they earn most of their money. Because as I explained earlier, most track and field is not a sport that really pays a lot, and there
True.
is evidence and history there. So most athletes, it's really through brand ambassadorships, really through their partnerships with their sponsors. That's how they earn. And most they do have like when you're a good athlete, a transcendent athlete, you get lifelong contracts, and that can keep them over the course of their lifespan.
True. Very true. Very
Hmm.
true. Very true. Well, Carifta is coming up tomorrow. Big something people. We're going to hour and 31. And I know the Good Friday is not done as yet. We still have to spend some more time with family. You understand? And things. So, Mr. Williams,
Yeah, man. Blessings.
for coming on, tomorrow
All
again.
right. All right. Yeah, I'm on holiday now, until next week Tuesday, so I am available to join.
So just
Just
give
let
you
me
an
know before.
hour ahead, right?
Yeah, man. Just let me know before and at the time.
Because I don't, I sometimes wonder, but
Yeah, man. I'm on
I know
holiday now,
I
man.
know
So
you're
I
a
have,
busy person and thing.
yeah,
And
I'm on
remember
holiday
the,
now, so I have time.
yeah, remember the plan we have now. We need to reason more about it.
All
That's all.
right. Blessings. Blessings. Coach Mix. Blessings here. All
Respect.
right. Guidance.
All right, people. So there you have it. 1 1 32 minutes. We talk something about school and student athletes. We also talk about Asafa utterance and we discuss all of that, people. Remember to like, subscribe, and share to the content at all times. El Futuro Sports and Unseen Sports TV. We try our best to give you guys these intriguing, these interesting topics. Right, Bomb Sports? Right, Knockins? You understand? Knockins! Come up around your bed, Bridget. I'll get a youth number, man. See, I can call him, yeah? And if it- yeah. You tell him first, Knockings. You understand? Carlton Lovelace, big up yourself. Jordan Woodfine, big up yourself. Jamaica family, big up yourself. Everybody who are watching and listen, big up yourself. People, whenever you have these interesting topics, man, I need to share the live with my friends, man, so we can have a lot of number of people on the platform listening to what we are saying because this interview was very interesting and intriguing, right? And informative, right? So we need a lot of persons to be watching, listening to us, all right? Mr. Meeks, you have anything to say to the people?
Thanks for joining. Hope to see you tomorrow. And we'll see tomorrow when show them a tier two game.
Yeah, in the evening, but in the morning session of the character first.
So
So
the
we'll do
morning
something.
session of character, and then the evening is a tier two,
Yeah,
and in the night.
the night the character again recap.
So there you hear it, people. Morning character, evening tier two, night character.
Yeah, and then
Sports
Sunday
all the way,
character in the morning and then
and football in the
football in the
evening.
evening.
So
That's
there,
it. There you go, people. So again, we say we are. We are what mix?
out.
We are what?
Peace.
And we are OUT.